Hi everyone, looks like I've got this streaming now working. It took me a while today to get it actually going. I wanted to talk to you today actually about swapping from Canon over to Sony. There's been a couple of articles that I've read talking about it, and I thought I'd go through it with you and see if anyone is actually going to do that too. Now, if my bell does ring, I've got to stop the broadcast straight away because I'm sending off my 70-200 F4 to Sony Pro Support for servicing. There's a couple of issues with it, so if it does ring, I'll have to quickly stop. I'll just say hi in the chat just so that I can make sure I can say hi to everyone there. Let me just move this over. I've got a couple there looking now, so we'll have a chat anyway, and you can send me some questions if you have any questions and things like that. So I thought we'd check it all out anyway. Now, I've got a couple of things that I wanted to talk to you about with switching over, because if you look at this article here, obviously for a Canon user switching over, there's a massive difference in size, although that difference in size is negated once you put a battery grip onto the A9, and also if you put a massive lens on, then I suppose then it's not so big in difference anymore, apart from the body being a little bit different. But if you did put the body grip on, the battery grip onto the A9, it would be a similar size. So I just wanted to sort of show you that, how they're showing images of switching from the Canon over to the Sony system. There's another image here which you can sort of see that, give you a difference in size. But I don't think the people they're targeting at the sports shooters are going to be that particularly interested in the size difference. They probably like having a camera that's got substantial grip onto it, because if you are using massive prime lenses, 600mm, having a small body is not going to help at all. The other thing I suppose too that's got to be addressed and checked out is how strong the actual ring is that's around it that supports the actual camera itself, because the Angry Photographer, it cracks me up when I watch that guy, but the Angry Photographer actually showed the Sony mount, and it was very weak actually. It wasn't good at all. Now apparently they've upgraded the mount on this camera, so it may be a lot stronger, so we'll have to see how much stronger it is. But clearly the Canon and the Nikon and the Fuji cameras had a much bigger camera mount, which if you're dealing with these massive lenses would be a difference. So I hope that the A9 has had that substantially increased. Just let me check questions. I just want to see. So yeah, fire some questions, guys, if you have any. Now, basically, there's this article that's online that talks about how much it is to switch from a Sony system from a Canon system, or to a Sony system from a Canon system. And it takes you through this whole article. Now, this article is by, I think it's Dan Dracalia, or Dracalia or something. This was in DP Review. So it's quite an interesting article, because it actually goes through talking about everything that you have to consider if you're switching over to Sony. Sony have listed the A9 as a sports camera, and I had a big discussion yesterday about whether this would be suitable for wedding photographers, and there's some fors and against. But this is an article strictly talking about, I suppose, a Sony shooter changing over. So there's a whole stack of stuff that you can read in here, but I can relate to this because I did change from Nikon, and it did cost me an awful lot of money to change from Nikon. I had the high-end Nikon gear. At that time, it was a D4S and the D810, and I think it was the D700 I had, or the 600. But so I got rid of all of them, and I also had lenses like the 2470 2.8, the 70-200 2.8. It was, I think, the 10-18 2.8. So I had the real high-end lenses and the 85 1.4. So I did have an awful lot of high-end glass and high-end camera gear. So I know when you change over systems, it's incredibly expensive. Ali said, "Good morning from Qatar. How are you, mate? It's good to see you here." Yeah, it's 2:38 in the afternoon here. So I don't know what time is it. Oh, it's 7:35 a.m. So it is early. So they've given down a whole list of things that they're actually talking about. So they're saying that in the bag, they're talking about an ideal sports shooter, I would say. although the lenses don't really relate to that. So they must be talking about just a professional photographer, because there's no real big lenses listed here. Oh no, this is only the value of trading in the Canon gear. So they're saying a 1DX estimated trading value at KEH, that must be an American company, is $2,000 by two. So are they saying it's $1,000 each? Because they're saying the Canon is, oh no, you get 2,000, I suppose, which would be four. Yeah, so it'd be 4,000. They're saying value in private sale will be $6,000. The Canon 5D Mark III, they're saying at that KEH you'll get $1,200. If you do a private sale, you get $3,500. Clearly, I would not be using KEH. Perhaps it's just a quick sale, so if you can't be bothered putting things on eBay or stuff like that, you might want to go through this KEH. But looking at those prices, I think you'd have to be crazy to use KEH. I'd be trying to sell privately. I mean, there's no rush, so just take your time, and I'd be trying to sell privately or through something like that. So anyway, the total that they're saying, if you sell privately, they're saying that you'll get $30,105. If you sold in at this KEH, you would get $11,820. What are they saying in the original? No, they're not saying what the original prices are. Perhaps that'll come a bit further down. So they're saying that's a lot of kit. For the most part, we're looking at recouping less than half of the new value. So they're saying you're going to get less than the half of the new value for selling it. So with $11,000 in your pocket, how much kit could be bought back with your Sony gear? So they're saying that you only make $11,800 from selling this. That's what you're left with, basically. Now, I think it's saying making the switch down here. So they're saying the equivalent Sony gear for what the Canon shooter has is two A9s, which is $4,500. So you'd have to double that. A Sony A7 II, which is $1,500. The Sony 35 2.8 is $800. And when you look at the price used, it's very hard to find anything new because it's such a new system. There's very little for sale, so you can't really buy used in much of this stuff. So we probably won't even look over that side. Batis 135, 2000, 16 to 35, etc., etc. So they're saying these are the prices compared. So the grand total of buying this is $24,160. So now they're saying down here, just let me have a look. I'll just see if anyone else has popped in. Voice Studio, g'day David. Switching to Sony is cheaper than switching from Sony to Nikon and Canon. Yeah, well, I went the opposite way, and I'm glad I did it. I'm using my because I just wanted to use native lenses. Although I just showed before, I was doing a quick test, and I'm using this lens now, which is the Samyang. I just bought this to do night star photography, so I am using that, and that's a Sony mount. Maxar said, I did it the other way. I switched from Sony to Canon, and I'm glad. Well, that's good. Look, obviously, some things are just right for some people, and it's not right for others. I made this switch, and I'm glad I did. Admittedly, there's still differences. Sometimes I will miss a little bit, like I was talking about for low light. I think the Nikon D4S was a lot better than, well, it wasn't a lot better, but it was better than what I've got now with my Sony gear. But now that I've worked out all you need is fast glass, it's not a problem shooting low light anymore. So I've tended to solve that. Another issue I had with the Sony is you can't have the focus light if you're shooting in very low light as well, because that was missing the Sonys, and I don't know why they can't get that to work. But so that's one thing that you miss. If I'm in really, really low light, I'm usually carrying a continuous light from the store. You're losing money, basically. The way that this is, and I think that's why this article is a bit silly in one respect. I think they're basing it all on this KEH. I certainly wouldn't be basing it on that. I'd be selling your gear on private sale, and I don't think you'd have any issue selling it on private sale anyway. But have any of you guys switched? I know with switching from Canon, I did lose some money, but I did get back an awful lot. They tend to hold their gear reasonably well, especially the Nikon. I suppose Canon may be similar, but the Nikon stuff I didn't lose much at all, and lenses you tend not to lose much either. You just really have to make a conscious decision whether you want to switch, and I think it's hard to make a partial switch. I think you have to do this is just my opinion, I think you have to do a complete switch because the menu system's totally different, the flashes work different, and if you're going between two different cameras, it gets awkward. I used a GH4 for a little while, and I sold that as well, because I wanted a system where I could do the whole lot in one go and not have to think about when I was changing menus, doing things like that. So, you know, it does make a difference if you're trying to run on two systems, but, you know, let me know what you guys think. Yassar has said, who sells anything on K? I know, well, that's what I'm thinking. I don't understand that article showing that. People usually sell their gear on Fred Miranda. So is that a US site, is it? And similar forums to avoid paying fees. The article is really misleading. And that's what I think too. I think they're clicking for baits here. When I first looked at that, I thought, wow, that's bad. But clearly you're going to be in that realm of $30,105. So it's not going to cost you that much to change over. In fact, you'll come out in front looking at those figures. Is this live? I'm getting weird feed. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think the refresh rate may be a bit strange, guys. Let me know if anyone else is seeing this a little bit funny because it is live. I'm just going to check the feed down here to see what it's saying. Yeah, it's saying the health is good. Yeah, it's saying the health is good. Is it okay for everyone else? Just let me know how the feed is going. Is it okay? Three Trees Photography said, I use Canon in very low light situation with multiple Canon speed lights. And yeah, that is an issue. Like it's you've got to make a conscious decision. For me, typically, because I shoot so much video and stills at the same time, Nikon definitely wasn't the way for me. I made the change because of that. I was lugging around, you know, the Nikon cameras and also the Panasonic GH4. I hated having two systems, so I changed. Yeah, oh, that's good. At least the feed seems to have improved a little bit now. So I think for Canon shooters, I can't see at this stage, to be totally honest, massive amounts of sport shooters swapping or changing over. I think there will be some, but there won't be massive amounts yet until Sony have decent glass in that long focal range, you know, the 400, 600. They did release that lens just the other day, but it's only a 5.6, I think, at the long end, so it's a little bit slow. Although with high ISO nowadays, I'm not quite sure that that's you know, such a big thing anymore because you can just crank the ISO so high on these cameras without any impact at all. But you know, let me know what you guys think. So I don't know how many Canon shooters are in there, whether you think you'd like to swap over. You know, whether if you're a Nikon shooter, you'd like to swap over like I did. So let me know how you would go. How much would it cost? I'm shooting portraits and landscape. Yeah, well, look, you'd still be looking at, if you look at those figures, what they're looking at down here, this is answer to Ali. If you were doing landscape, clearly you'd want to get a new A7R2. Now, they are around about, I think I've got them listed on Amazon at the moment. They're about $2,600 US. So you'd need to at least spend that if you were doing landscape. You wouldn't go for the A9 if you were doing landscape. Guys, I'm going to have to go because that is my courier here to get the lens. So unfortunately, I've got to go. So I'll see you again soon. Sorry. Bye for now.